Commander Zaxxon Kraith moved through the burning ruins like a mountain of death. Its massive 12-foot frame cast long shadows across the broken streets of New Providence Colony. The thick armor plates covering his body gleamed dark blue in the firelight. Each step of his enormous boots sent tremors through the cracked ground beneath him. Behind Zaxxon, 4 other Titan DreadWalkers followed in formation. Vex marched on his left, her yellow eyes scanning for threats. Thane kept pace on the right, his heavy plasma rifle ready. Goric and Nile brought up the rear, their sensors sweeping the demolished buildings for any signs of life. The human colony was supposed to be empty. 3 weeks ago, the hegemony had sent evacuation warnings before the orbital bombardment began. Most humans had fled to their ships and escaped to deeper space. But intelligence reports suggested some stubborn colonists might have stayed behind. To defend their homes, Zaxxon's mission was simple: search the ruins, eliminate any remaining humans, report back to the fleet. It was a routine cleanup operation, kind he had performed dozens of times across the galaxy. The air tasted of smoke and melted metal. Twisted pieces of human vehicles lay scattered among the debris. Broken glass crunched under their feet. As they moved deeper into what had once been the colony's main district, the humans had built their town with wide streets and low buildings. So different from the towering spires of Titan cities, Zaxxon paused at an intersection. His thermal sensors picked up something unusual. A faint heat signature was coming from a cluster of shipping containers about 200 meters ahead. The metal boxes had been arranged in a rough square, creating what looked like a makeshift shelter. Contact ahead. Zaxxon rumbled into his communicator. His voice was deep and harsh, like grinding stone. Possible survivor hideout. Moving to investigate? Copy that, Commander, Vex replied. Should we surround the position? Negative. Fan out and secure the perimeter? I will handle the search personally. The other DreadWalkers spread out, taking defensive positions behind chunks of concrete and twisted metal. Zaxxon approached the container shelter alone, his massive form moving with surprising quiet for something so large. His armor's stealth systems dampened the sound of his footsteps as he drew closer. Zaxxon could see that the containers had been welded together at their corners. Someone had cut doorways between them, creating connected rooms. Cables ran between the boxes, probably powering basic life support systems. It was clever work, the kind of quick engineering humans were known for. Zaxxon reached the entrance and paused. His sensors detected one heat signature inside, very small and faint. Much smaller than an adult human, his massive clawed hand gripped his sidearm as he stepped through the opening. The first container had been set up as a living area. Human furniture, sized for their smaller bodies, was arranged around a central table. Pictures hung on the metal walls showing a young human couple smiling at the camera. Zaxxon recognized the typical human bonding display. Family units were important to their species. A soft sound came from the next container. It's not quite a cry, but a gentle gurgling noise. Zaxxon moved toward it, ducking his head to fit through the connecting doorway. The second container was darker, lit only by a small battery-powered lamp. Zaxxon's enhanced vision immediately spotted the source of the heat signature. In the center of the room sat a reinforced storage box, the kind humans used for shipping delicate equipment. But this box had been lined with soft blankets and pillows. Inside the box was a human infant. Zaxxon stopped completely, his yellow eyes fixed on the tiny creature. The baby was awake, looking up at him with bright blue eyes. It was very small, probably no more than 6 months old by human standards. Instead of crying or showing fear at the sight of the massive alien warrior, the infant simply stared with curious interest. Zaxxon had never seen a human baby this close before. He knew they existed, of course. Human reproduction was well documented in hegemony military files. But seeing one in person was different. The infant was incredibly fragile-looking, with soft pink skin and wisps of light brown hair. It's tiny. Hands moved slowly, grasping at the air. A piece of paper was attached to the side of the box. Zaxxon carefully removed it and read the handwritten message. Human writing was part of his training, though their letters looked strange compared to Titan script. To whoever finds our son, the note began. His name is Alex Carter. We are Jake and Lisa Carter. We could not escape in time when the evacuation order came. Our ship had engine problems and we missed the last transport. We know the bombing will start soon. We built this shelter, but we do not think we will survive. Please, if you have any mercy in your heart, take care of our baby. He is innocent, has done nothing wrong. All we want is for him to live. There is formula and supplies in the other containers. Please do not let him die alone. The note was signed with 2 names and what looked like human symbols of affection. Zaxxon read it twice, his massive brain processing the implications. Human parents had known they were going to die. They had spent their final hours building this shelter and gathering supplies, not for themselves, but for their offspring. Zaxxon looked back at the infant. Baby Alex was still watching him, those bright blue eyes seemingly unafraid. As Zaxxon studied the child, Alex made a soft cooing sound and reached one tiny hand toward the giant warrior, the Titan commander. Felt something strange happen in his chest, a tightness he had never experienced before. Straining told him what? To do human survivors were to be eliminated without question. Well, the baby was human, therefore the baby must die. But as Alex continued to reach for him, making those gentle baby sounds, Zaxxon found himself unable to move. The infant showed no fear, no understanding of the danger it was in. It was completely helpless, completely trusting. Commander, status report. Vex's voice crackled through his communicator. Zaxxon looked at the baby, then at the note from its parents. The child's tiny fingers were still stretched toward him, as if asking to be picked up. Something deep in Zaxxon's mind, something that had been buried under years of military conditioning, began to stir. All clear, he heard himself say. No survivors found. He immediately regretted the lie. Lying to his squad was a serious breach of protocol. But, looking down at baby Alex, watching those trusting blue eyes, Zaxxon could not bring himself to report the truth. The infant made another soft sound, almost like it was trying to communicate. Zaxxon found himself kneeling beside the box, bringing his massive armored form down to the child's level. Alex's tiny hand brushed against one of Zaxxon's clawed fingers, and the baby's face crinkled into what humans called a smile. In that moment, something fundamental changed inside Commander Zaxxon Crave. The hardened warrior who had spent decades following orders without question suddenly faced a choice that would define the rest of his existence. He could follow his training and eliminate the human infant, or he could do something that went against everything he had been taught. Zaxxon looked around the container one more time. He saw the supplies the parents had gathered, the careful way. They had prepared everything for their child's survival. He saw the love and desperation in every detail of their final preparations. Very carefully. Using just the tips of his massive clawed fingers, Zaxxon lifted baby Alex from the box. The infant was incredibly light, like holding a small bird. Alex looked up at him and gurgled happily, completely unafraid of the giant alien holding him. Zaxxon Creth, commander of the hegemony DreadWalkers, made a decision that would shock everyone who knew him. Zaxxon held baby Alex against his armored chest, feeling the tiny heartbeat through his thick plating. The infant had fallen asleep in his arms, one small hand curled around his finger. For several minutes, the massive Titan warrior simply stood. They're unsure what to do next. His communicator buzzed. Commander, we have completed the perimeter sweep, Thane reported. No additional contacts found. Ready to return to the ship. Copy that, Zaxxon replied, his voice carefully controlled. Beginning final sweep of the shelter area. Maintain positions. Zaxxon quickly gathered the supplies the human parents had left. Formula powder, bottles, diapers, small clothes, and medical items all went into a military pack. He wrapped Alex in one of the soft blankets and tucked the baby inside his armor's cargo compartment, a space normally used for ammunition. The fit was tight, but Alex seemed comfortable in the dark, warm space. The walk back to their dropship felt like the longest of Zaxxon's life. Every step might reveal his secret. Every word from his squad members made his hearts pound faster. Titans had 2 hearts, and both of his were racing with fear and guilt. Anything interesting in the shelter, Commander? Vex asked as they boarded. Their transport. Standard human setup, Zaxxon lied smoothly. Some personal items, nothing of military value. The flight back to their main ship, the Obliterator, took 2 hours. Alex slept peacefully in his hidden compartment the entire time. Zaxxon kept checking his biosigns through his armor's internal sensors, making sure the baby was getting enough air and staying warm. The Obliterator was a massive hegemony dreadnought, over 3 miles long and designed to strike fear into enemy hearts. Its dark hull bristled with weapons, and its interior corridors were built for beings of Titan size. Everything was huge, gray, and intimidating. It was no place for a human. Baby Zaxxon went straight to his private quarters after landing. As a commander, he had larger rooms than the regular crew. His quarters included a sleeping area, a small office, and a storage section. More importantly, they had thick walls and privacy locks. Once safely inside with the door sealed, Zaxxon carefully removed Alex from his armor. The baby woke up and immediately started crying. The sound was piercing and completely foreign to Zaxxon's ears. He had heard humans scream in battle, but this was different. This was need, not fear. "What do you want?" Zaxxon asked the baby, feeling foolish for talking to something that could not understand him. Alex continued crying, his small face turning red. Zaxxon remembered the supplies and quickly prepared a bottle of formula, following the instructions. Written on the container, his massive clawed hands were not designed for such delicate work. But he managed to mix the powder in warm water without destroying anything when he offered the bottle to Alex. The crying stopped immediately. The baby grabbed the bottle with both tiny hands and began drinking hungrily. Relief flooded through Zaxxon as he watched the infant feed. Over the next few days, Zaxxon established a routine. He would perform his normal duties as commander, leading training exercises and reviewing mission reports. Between his official responsibilities, he would return to his quarters to feed Alex, change his diapers, and make sure he was safe. The baby was surprisingly easy to care for, once Zaxxon learned the basics. Alex slept a lot, ate regularly, and seemed content as long as his needs were met. He never cried when he saw Zaxxon's intimidating face or massive clawed hands. If anything, the baby seemed to enjoy the Titan's company. On the 5th day, something remarkable happened. Zaxxon was feeding Alex when the baby reached up and touched his scarred cheek. The tiny hand was warm and soft against Zaxxon's rough skin. Alex looked directly into his yellow eyes and made a happy gurgling sound. Zaxxon felt that strange tightness in his chest again, stronger this time. He realized what it was: affection. He was becoming attached to this human infant. The thought should have horrified him, but instead it felt natural, like something that had always been inside him, waiting to emerge. "You are not afraid of me, are you, little one?" Zaxxon whispered to Alex. His voice was gentler than usual, almost soft. "You do not see a monster. You see someone who cares for you." Alex responded by grabbing Zaxxon's finger and pulling it toward, his mouth trying to chew on the armored tip. The baby's gums were too soft to do any damage. But Zaxxon was amazed by how strong the child's grip was for something so small. As weeks passed, caring for Alex became the most important part of Zaxxon's day. He found himself hurrying through his commander duties so he could return to his quarters. He learned to mix formula perfectly, to change diapers quickly, and to recognize different types of cries. Happy cries meant Alex wanted attention. Angry cries meant he was hungry. Sleepy cries meant he needed to be rocked gently. The rocking was perhaps the strangest part. Zaxxon would hold Alex against his chest and sway back and forth, humming deep Titan lullabies he remembered from his own childhood. The baby would calm down and fall asleep to the rumbling vibrations from Zaxxon's throat. But keeping Alex's secret was becoming harder every day. Zaxxon's behavior was changing in ways his squad noticed. He spent less time in the common areas. He made unusual requests for food supplies, claiming he was conducting experiments with human nutrition for intelligence purposes. He seemed distracted. During briefings and training sessions, Vex was the most suspicious. She had served with Zaxxon for 8 years and knew his habits well. One day she confronted him directly. "Commander, you have been acting strange lately," she said, blocking his path to his quarters. "The crew is starting to talk. Some think you might be having psychological problems from too much combat." "My mental state is fine," Zaxxon replied. Firmly, I am simply focused on improving our operational efficiency by studying human food. Vex's yellow eyes narrowed. By spending all your time alone in your quarters? By humming lullabies during weapons practice? Zaxxon's blood turned cold. He had been humming without realizing it. I was not humming lullabies. Yes, you were. Old Titan children's songs. I know them too. Vex stepped closer. What is going on, Zaxxon? We have been squad mates for years. You can trust me. For a moment, Zaxxon almost told her everything. Yes. Was loyal and had saved his life in battle more than once. But he also knew her dedication to hegemony law was absolute. She would not understand his decision to spare Alex. I am fine, he said finally. Just dealing with some personal matters. Vex stared at him for a long moment, then stepped aside. Personal matters, she repeated. I hope you know what you are doing, Commander. That night, as Zaxxon fed Alex's evening bottle, he realized his time was running out. The baby was growing larger and more active every day. Soon Alex would be walking, talking, making noise that others might hear. The secret would come out eventually. But as he looked down at Alex's trusting face, Zaxxon knew he could not give up. This tiny human had changed something fundamental inside him. Before Alex's Zaxxon had been nothing but a weapon, a tool of the hegemony war machine. Now he felt purpose beyond destruction, felt love. Alex finished his bottle and reached up toward Zaxxon's face again. This time he made a sound that was almost like speech. Dada, the baby said clearly. Zaxxon's heart stopped for a moment. Dada was the human word for father. Alex was calling him father, the tiny human who should have been. His enemy was claiming him as family. Tears formed in Zaxxon's yellow eyes for the first time in decades. He held Alex closer, feeling the warm weight of complete trust in his arms. Whatever happened next, whatever price he had to pay, he would protect this child. Alex had made him more than just a warrior. Alex had made him a father. Outside his quarters, the Obliterator continued its course through the darkness of space, carrying its crew toward their next mission. But inside those private rooms, a Titan DreadWalker and a human baby had formed a bond that would change both their lives. Forever. 3 years had passed since Zaxxon found baby Alex in the ruined colony. The tiny infant had grown into a curious toddler who could walk, run, and climb with amazing skill. Alex was now 3 years old, though small even by human standards. Had learned to speak in both human English and basic Titan language. Switching between them easily, living on the Obliterator had made Alex incredibly adaptable. The ship was built for 12-foot Titan warriors, so everything was huge compared to the little boy. But Alex had learned to climb chairs that were 3 times his height, to open doors by hanging from the handles, and to navigate corridors that seemed like giant tunnels to him. Zaxxon watched Alex play in the hidden room he had built behind his quarters. The space was small but comfortable, with human-sized furniture Zaxxon had secretly acquired during supply runs. Toys, books, and games filled the area. To anyone else, it would look like a normal child's playroom. But this playroom was hidden inside a warship, and the child playing there was supposed to be dead. "Da, look what I made," Alex said, holding up a small device he had built from spare electronic parts. The boy had an amazing talent for fixing and building things. He could take broken equipment and somehow make it work better than before. Zaxxon knelt down to examine Alex's creation. It appeared to be some kind of communication device, but built in a way Zaxxon had never seen before. The design was completely new, yet it worked perfectly when Alex demonstrated it. "How did you know to connect these parts this way?" Zaxxon asked. Alex shrugged. "The way children do when they cannot explain something that seems obvious to them. It just makes sense. The blue wire wanted to go with the red one, and the silver piece felt lonely by itself." This was how Alex always explained his inventions. He talked about electronic parts like they had feelings, like they told him how they wanted to be used. It should have been nonsense. Somehow Alex's strange methods produced amazing results. Keeping Alex hidden had become much harder as the boy grew older and more active. He needed exercise, education, and social interaction. Zaxxon did his best to provide all these things, but he was just one person trying to raise a child in secret. Aboard a military vessel, the biggest challenge was Alex's natural curiosity. The boy wanted to explore everything, ask questions about everyone, and understand how the ship worked. Zaxxon found himself answering hundreds of questions every day. "Why do Titans have yellow eyes?" Alex would ask. "Why are your claws so sharp? Why does the ship make that humming sound? Where do we go when we jump through space?" He taught Alex about Titan history, human history, and the war between their species. Alex listened to everything with intense focus, asking even more questions about each new piece of information. "Why are Titans and humans fighting?" Alex asked one day while Zaxxon was teaching him to read Titan script. "Because the hegemony says humans are dangerous," Zaxxon replied carefully. "They say humans will destroy us if we do not destroy them first." Alex looked confused. "But I am human. I do not want to destroy you. I love you, Dada." The simple honesty of the statement hit Zaxxon like a physical blow. How could he explain that the war was based on lies and fear when this human child showed nothing but love and trust? "You are different," Zaxxon said finally. "You are special." But even as he said it, Zaxxon wondered if that was true. Maybe all humans were like Alex when they were young. Maybe the hatred and fear came later, taught by adults who had forgotten how to see past differences. The close calls were becoming more frequent. Last month, Gorik had heard strange sounds coming from near Zaxxon's quarters. Zaxxon claimed he was running equipment tests, but Gorik looked suspicious. 2 weeks ago, Niall had questioned why Zaxxon was ordering so much food for experiments that never seemed to produce any results. Worst of all was Bex. She had been watching Zaxxon carefully for months, and her suspicions were growing stronger. She asked pointed questions about his behavior, his requests for supplies, and his long absences from common areas. Zaxxon could see the doubt in her yellow eyes every time they spoke. The situation came to a crisis point when Fleet Admiral Corvash announced he would be conducting a surprise inspection of the Obliterator. The Admiral was known for his thorough reviews and his ability to uncover hidden problems. If he discovered Alex, both the boy and Zaxxon would face immediate execution. "All personnel will be available for individual interviews," the Admiral's message stated. "I will be examining all quarters, storage areas, and workspaces. This inspection will be comprehensive and complete." Zaxxon felt panic rise in his throat. There was nowhere on the ship to hide Alex that the Admiral would not eventually search. The boy was too old to fit in small hiding places and too young to understand the need for absolute silence during a long inspection. "What is wrong, Dada?" Alex asked, noticing Zaxxon's distress. "You look scared?" "A very important Titan is coming to visit our ship," Zaxxon explained. "He cannot know you are here. We will need to play a hiding game, but it will be longer and more serious than our usual games." Alex nodded solemnly. At 3 years old, he already understood that his existence was a secret that could get them both in trouble. "I can be very quiet. I can hide in the walls like we practiced." Zaxxon had indeed taught Alex to use the ship's maintenance tunnels and air ducts as hiding places. The boy was small enough to crawl through spaces that even Titan children could not fit into. But hiding for days while the Admiral conducted his inspection would be almost impossible. The Admiral arrived 2 days later with a team of inspectors. Corvash was an enormous Titan, even by their standards, standing nearly 14 feet tall. His presence filled whatever room he entered, and his reputation for finding hidden problems was legendary throughout the fleet. Zaxxon managed to get Alex into the maintenance tunnels before the inspection began. The boy carried a small pack with food, water, and quiet toys. Zaxxon had drilled him on the route through the walls that would keep him away from the inspection teams. "Remember, Zaxxon?" whispered as Alex prepared to crawl into the tunnel entrance. "Stay quiet, stay hidden, and follow the path we practiced.
Ow.
I will come get you when it is safe." "I love you, Dada," Alex whispered back, then disappeared into the darkness of the tunnel system. The inspection lasted 3 grueling days. Admiral Corvash examined every inch of the ship, questioned every crew member, and reviewed all logs and records. Zaxxon endured 2 personal interviews, answering questions about his leadership, his loyalty, and his recent behavior. "You have been requesting unusual supplies," the Admiral noted, reviewing Zaxxon's requisition records. "Food items not typically used by Titan personnel. Electronic components for unspecified projects. Explain these requests." "Research into human technology and biology," Zaxxon replied, using the cover story he had prepared. "Understanding our enemies better helps us fight them more effectively." "And what have you learned from this research?" "Humans are more adaptable than our intelligence reports suggest. Their technology approaches problems differently than ours. Understanding these differences could give us tactical advantages." "Admiral." Corvash made notes, but seemed satisfied with the explanation. The inspection continued without discovering Alex's hiding place. On the final day, disaster nearly struck. Alex had been hiding in the walls for 72 hours, and he was getting tired, hungry, and scared. While Admiral Corvash was inspecting the engine room, Alex accidentally knocked over a maintenance tool in the tunnel above. The clang of metal hitting metal echoed through the corridor. Several crew members looked up, trying to locate the source of the sound. "Probably just thermal expansion," Thane suggested. "The hull makes noise sometimes when we change course." But Vex was staring directly at the ceiling panel where the sound had come from. Her eyes met Zaxxon's across the corridor, and he saw recognition begin to dawn in her expression. That night, after Admiral Corvash had finally departed with a satisfactory report, Zaxxon retrieved Alex from his hiding place. The boy was exhausted, dirty, and close to tears, but he had stayed hidden for the entire inspection. "I did good, right, Dada?" Alex asked, as Zaxxon carried him back to their secret room. "You did perfect," Zaxxon replied, holding the boy close. "You were very brave." But as he tucked Alex into bed, Zaxxon knew their time was running out. Vex suspected something, and her loyalty to hegemony regulations was absolute. Soon, she would act on her suspicions, and when she did, their secret would be exposed. Alex fell asleep quickly, exhausted from his ordeal. Zaxxon sat beside the small bed watching the boy sleep and wondering how much longer he could protect the child who had become his whole world. Alex was now 5 years old, and his abilities had grown far beyond what anyone could have expected. He could read both human and Titan languages perfectly, solve complex math problems in his head, and build devices that amazed even Zaxxon. The boy had also grown taller and stronger, though he was still small compared to the massive Titans around him. Zaxxon had taught Alex everything he could about living secretly on the ship. The boy knew every maintenance tunnel, every hiding spot, and every crew member's daily routine. He could move through the walls like a ghost, appearing and disappearing without making a sound. But their careful routine was about to be shattered. The Obliterator was on patrol near the Kepler system when the attack came without warning. 3 human resistance fighters appeared out of nowhere, their small ships darting around the massive Titan dreadnought like angry insects. They fired precise shots at weak points in the ship's armor, targeting systems they should not have known. About alarms screamed throughout the ship as the crew rushed to battle stations. Zaxxon ran toward the bridge, leaving Alex safely hidden in their secret room with strict orders to stay put no matter what happened. The human ships were small, but incredibly fast. They used hit-and-run tactics, striking hard and then disappearing before the Obliterator's weapons could target them. It was exactly the kind of asymmetric warfare that made human resistance fighters so dangerous. "Report," Zaxxon demanded as he reached the bridge. 3 human interceptors, Gorick called out from the weapons station. "They are targeting our power distribution nodes. They know exactly where to hit us." Captain Drex, the ship's commanding officer, was coordinating the defense. "All guns, target the lead fighter. Do not let them reach the engine section." But the human pilots were too skilled. They wove between the Obliterator's massive gun turrets, staying in blind spots where the big weapons could not track them. One fighter managed to penetrate the ship's outer defenses and fired a missile directly into the main power coupling. The explosion sent shockwaves through the entire ship. Lights flickered and died. The artificial gravity fluctuated, making everyone stumble. Most critically, the life support systems began to fail. Hull breach on Deck 7, Niall reported.
Ow.
We are losing atmosphere. Power is down to 30% and falling. Zaxxon felt a cold fear grip his hearts. Deck 7 was where his quarters were located, where Alex was hidden.
I support failure in multiple sections.
Thane added. We need to evacuate the damaged. Areas negative, Captain Drex ordered. We hold position and fight. All repair teams to emergency stations. But Zaxxon could see the damage reports on his screen. The ship was dying. Without life support, everyone in the affected sections would suffocate within hours, including Alex. Another human fighter strafed the bridge tower, its weapons punching. Through the armored windows, Captain Drex was caught in the explosion, his massive form thrown against the wall. He did not get up. Captain is down, Vex announced. Commander Zaxxon, you are now in command. Zaxxon stared at the damage report scrolling across his screen. The Obliterator was critically wounded. They needed to restore life support immediately, but the power coupling was completely destroyed. The backup systems were not strong enough to run the entire ship. Double quotes. Sir, what are your orders? Gorik asked. Zaxxon opened his mouth to respond, but no words came. He was thinking about Alex, alone and frightened in their hiding place as the air grew thin and the temperature dropped. Boy would die unless someone could repair the life support system. But the repairs were impossible. The power coupling was destroyed beyond any hope of quick fixes. It would take days to install replacement parts, and they did not have days. They had hours at most. That was when Alex appeared on the bridge. The boy had crawled through the maintenance tunnels to reach them, following routes that Zaxxon had taught him for emergencies. He emerged from an air vent near the back of the bridge. Dropping down with the quiet grace he had learned from years of hiding, every Titan on the bridge froze, in shock. They stared at the small human child standing among them, looking impossibly tiny and fragile, surrounded by the massive alien warriors. Alex No Zaxxon whispered, You must go back. Hide. But Alex was not looking at Zaxxon. He was staring at the damage control screens, his young mind processing the information faster than anyone could have imagined. The power coupling is broken, Alex said in perfect Titan language. But you can reroute through the secondary manifolds if you reverse the polarity on the tertiary circuits. Thane laughed harshly. A human child thinks it can solve our engineering problems. That solution will not work, Gorik added. The secondary manifolds cannot handle that much power flow. Alex walked over to the engineering console, climbing up on a chair to reach the controls. His small fingers moved across the interface with incredible speed and precision. It's not at full flow, he said, still working. But if you pulse the power in 3-second intervals and cycle through different manifold sets, the load gets distributed. Like taking turns carrying something heavy. Zaxxon watched in amazement as Alex's hands danced over the controls. The boy was implementing a solution that none of them had thought of, using the ship's systems in ways they were not designed for, but that somehow made perfect sense. It's impossible, Vex breathed. Those systems are not compatible. Alex looked up. From the console, they are not supposed to be compatible. But they want to work together. You just have to ask them nicely. He pressed a final sequence of commands, and suddenly, the lights came back on. The life support systems hummed back to life. Breathable air began flowing again throughout the ship. Life support restored, Niall announced in amazement. Power levels stabilizing at 70%. How did he do that? The human fighters, seeing that their target was no longer helpless, broke off their attack and disappeared into hyperspace. The immediate danger was over. But the real crisis was just beginning. Every member of the bridge crew was staring at Alex. The boy stood calmly beside the engineering console, waiting to see what would happen next. He showed no fear, even though he was surrounded by alien warriors who had been trained to see humans as enemies. A human child, Vex said slowly. You have been hiding a human child for years. His name is Alex, Zaxxon said, stepping protectively in front of the boy. He is under my protection. Protection. Gorik's voice was full of disbelief. Commander, this is treason. Harboring enemy survivors is punishable by death. He is not our enemy, Zaxxon replied firmly. He just saved all our lives. Thane pointed his weapon at Alex. It does not matter what he did. He is human. Regulations are clear. But Niall stepped forward, his own weapon lowered. Wait, did you see what he just did? That was impossible. No Titan engineer could have solved that problem so quickly. The boy has unusual abilities, Zaxxon admitted. He understands technology in ways we do not. He sees connections and possibilities that we miss. Alex looked up at the massive titans surrounding him. When he spoke, his young voice was clear and unafraid. I know you are supposed to be my enemies, he said in Titan language, but Zaxxon is my father. He saved me when my birth parents died. He taught me, protected me, and loved me. I do not want to fight you. I want to help you. The simple honesty in Alex's words created a moment of stunned silence on the bridge. Here was a human child, surrounded by alien warriors, offering friendship instead of showing fear. Vex lowered her weapon slowly. How long? She asked Zaxxon. 5 years, Zaxxon replied, since he was an infant. 5 years of treason, Gorick muttered. 5 years of protecting an innocent child, Zaxxon corrected. At that moment, Admiral Corvish's voice crackled over the communications system. The Admiral had been monitoring the battle from the fleet flagship and was demanding answers. Obliterator. Report your status. Our sensors detected unusual energy signatures during your repairs. Explain immediately. Zaxxon looked down at Alex, then at his assembled crew. The secret was out. There was no hiding anymore. Whatever happened next would determine not just their fates, but the future of the relationship between two species. Admiral? Zaxxon said into his communicator, we need to talk. Admiral Corvash arrived on the Obliterator within 6 hours, his face dark with anger. He brought with him a squad of elite guard troops and orders to arrest everyone involved in what he called the greatest act of treason in hegemony history. Zaxxon stood in the main conference room with Alex beside him. The boy held Zaxxon's massive hand, showing no fear even though armed Titan soldiers surrounded them. The rest of Zaxxon's crew stood nearby, their fate tied to whatever decision the Admiral would make. Explain yourself, Commander, Admiral Corvash demanded. His voice echoed through the room like thunder. How long have you been harboring this human? 5 years, sir, Zaxxon replied calmly. Since he was an infant. 5 years of treason. 5 years of violating every regulation and oath you swore. The Admiral walked closer, his enormous form casting a shadow over Alex. And this child is the one who repaired your ship? Yes, sir. Alex solved an engineering problem that none of us could figure out. He saved every life on this ship. Admiral Corvash stared down at Alex, studying the small human boy. Impossible. Humans do not possess such abilities. They are primitive, violent, and limited in their thinking. Alex looked up at the Admiral without flinching. I am not primitive, sir. I learned from Zaxxon. He taught me about Titan technology, Titan history, and Titan honor. He is a good father. The Admiral's expression darkened further. Father, you call this warrior your father? He is my father, Alex said simply. He saved me, protected me, and loved me when I had no one else. That is what fathers do. What fathers do, the Admiral repeated slowly. He turned to Zaxxon. And what do you say to this, Commander? Do you claim this human as your offspring? Zaxxon met the Admiral's gaze steadily. I do, sir. Alex is my son. In every way that matters. I would die before I let anyone harm him. Admiral Corvash was about to respond when another voice spoke from the doorway. That is exactly what we hoped you would say. Everyone turned to see a new figure entering the room. It was a human, but not a soldier or resistance fighter. This was an older man in civilian clothes, with gray hair and gentle eyes. He walked calmly past the surprised Titan guards, showing no fear of the massive alien warriors. Who are you? Admiral Corvash demanded. How did you get aboard this ship? My name is Dr. Henry Park, the human replied. I am a xenobiologist who has been studying Titan psychology for 23 years. I came here because this moment represents the most. Important discovery in the history of both our species. A human spy, Vex snarled, raising her weapon. Not a spy, Dr. Park said calmly. A researcher. I am here to tell you the truth about why Alex and Zaxxon formed such a strong bond. Admiral Corvash gestured for the guards to hold their positions. Speak quickly, human. You have little time before I order your execution. Dr. Park walked over to Alex and knelt down to the boy's level. Hello, Alex. You have grown into a remarkable young man. Do I know you, Alex? Asked curiously.
Hey.
No, but I have been watching you from afar, studying you, learning from what you and Zaxxon have accomplished together. Dr. Park stood and faced the assembled Titans. What you are about to learn will shock you. Humans and Titans are not natural enemies. We are meant to be allies. Impossible, Admiral Corvash snapped. Humans and Titans have completely different evolutionary paths. That is what your leaders want you to believe, Dr. Park replied, but it is a lie. Humans and Titans share a common ancestor. We evolved on different worlds, yes, but from the same original species. More importantly, we evolved to complement each other. He pulled out a small device and projected holographic images into the air. The images showed brain scans, genetic charts, and evolutionary timelines. Titan adults have been chemically conditioned for generations to suppress their natural protective instincts, Dr. Park explained. Your leaders use drugs and conditioning to make you aggressive toward humans. But human children, especially very young ones, trigger ancient protective responses that cannot be completely suppressed. Zaxxon stared at the images, pieces of a puzzle beginning to fall into place in his mind. The feelings I had when I first saw Alex, the immediate need to protect him. Exactly, Dr. Park nodded. Alex triggered your natural parental instincts. Instincts that the hegemony has been chemically suppressing in your species for centuries. But why? Thane asked. Why would our leaders want to suppress protective instincts?
Us.
Because Titans and humans working together are incredibly powerful, Dr. Park replied. Human creativity and problem-solving, combined with Titan strength and endurance, create something neither species can achieve alone. Your leaders know this. They keep the war going because it maintains their power and control. Admiral Corvash was studying the holographic data carefully. As a high-ranking officer, he had access to classified information that regular soldiers did not see. These genetic markers, he said slowly. I have seen them before in restricted files. Of course. You have, Dr. Park said. The hegemony leadership knows the truth. They have always known. The war is artificial, maintained by lies and chemical conditioning. Alex had been listening to everything with the intense focus that characterized him. Now he spoke up in his clear young voice. Is that why I was never afraid of Zaxxon? Because we are supposed to be friends? Partly, yes, Dr. Park replied. But also because you represent something very special. Alex, you are proof that humans and Titans can not only coexist, but thrive together. You have abilities that neither species could develop alone. What kind of abilities? Zaxxon asked. Park smiled. The kind that can solve impossible engineering problems in minutes. The kind that can see connections and possibilities that escape even the most advanced minds. Alex's brain developed differently. Because he was raised by a Titan, he has human creativity enhanced by Titan logical patterns. Admiral Corvash was still studying the data projections. This is true, he said slowly. Then everything we have been told about this war is false. Not everything, Dr. Park corrected. Humans and Titans do have differences. But those differences make us stronger together, not weaker. Alex is living proof of that. At that moment, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. A communications officer's voice echoed through the corridors. Admiral, urgent message from the Hegemony High Command. They are ordering immediate termination of the human specimen and all personnel involved in harboring it. A fleet is being dispatched to ensure compliance. Admiral Corvash's expression grew grim. The High Command knows about Alex. They will not allow this information to spread. Then we have a choice to make, Zaxxon said firmly. We can follow orders and destroy the proof that our species can live in peace, or we can do what is right. Vex stepped forward, her weapon lowered. I have served the hegemony for 15 years. But I have also served with you, Zaxxon, I have seen your honor, your courage, and your loyalty to your crew. If you say this child is worth protecting, then I believe you." One by one, the other crew members voiced their agreement. Thane, Gorick, and Nile all declared their willingness to stand with Zaxxon and Alex, even if it meant defying the hegemony. Admiral Corvash looked around the room at the faces of his soldiers, then down at Alex. The boy was still holding Zaxxon's hand, his young face serious but unafraid. "The High Command fleet will arrive in 18 hours, the Admiral said finally. "That gives us time to send a message to both our peoples. Time to share the truth about what we really are." He knelt down in front of Alex, his massive form making the child look even smaller. "Young Alex, are you willing to help us end this war?" Alex looked up at the enormous Admiral, then at Zaxxon, then back to the Admiral. "I want Titans and humans to be friends like me and Data are friends. If I can help with that, then yes." Admiral Corvash smiled for the first time anyone could. "Remember? Then let us begin." Over the next few hours, Dr. Park's research was broadcast throughout both human and Titan space. The truth about their shared heritage, about the artificial nature of their conflict, and about the potential for cooperation spread like wildfire through both civilizations. Zaxxon and Alex appeared together in the broadcasts, living proof that the two species could not only coexist but love each other as family. Their story became a symbol of hope for billions of beings who had lived their entire lives believing they were natural enemies. The war did not end immediately. There was resistance from leaders on both sides who profited from the conflict. The truth, once revealed, could not be hidden again. Years later, Zaxxon would stand as Earth's first Titan ambassador, with Alex beside him as a bridge between worlds. The child who should have died in the ruins of New Providence Colony had instead become the key to peace between two great civilizations, and in quiet moments. When the diplomatic work was done and the speeches were over, Zaxxon would look at Alex and remember the day a tiny human baby had looked up at him without fear, changing both their lives forever.